The story of the Matrix shows us 4 versions of reality. The first is the Matrix, the program where everyone is connected. This reality is the one where much of the movie takes place, one that is monitored by the agents and hacked by Morpheus and his companions. This reality can be manipulated by anyone. Even the Chosen One develops certain skills that enables him to see the code and hack it in real time, modifying the code and adapting it for himself. It was for this reason that Neo saw the Matrix just before acquiring his powers. Remember this, because it will be very important for this theory. The second version of reality is the one that Morpheus shows Neo, an imitation of the Matrix that they created for training purposes. This version of reality is much more limited, but serves its purpose as a training ground. This simulation can be molded by a user. The third is the supposed real world, a place where machines have enslaved humanity, where those who manages to wake up and be rescued by the resistance, or die and be recycled by the machines to become nutrients for the other imprisoned humans. It is a version of reality where Zion exists, the last bastion of human freedom, and is the one considered by all to be real. The fourth reality is one that lies between the Matrix and the real world, a place that masks itself as a train station where Neo accesses after being in a coma. This is the reality between realities. The greatest secret of the Matrix is that these 4 worlds are nothing more than layers within the same program. All humans are asleep, including Morpheus, Trinity, and the thousands of people in Zion. This reality that we know as planet Earth is just another layer of the Matrix created to manipulate humans and make them believe that they have managed to be free. A false awakening from which they can never escape.
This is the bird's eye view, and here's what you've been missing. All right, so today we're going to be talking about the second part of our show, mind control tactics and how to spot them when they're being used on us. So I'm going to start real quick with the section he calls stupid alien tricks. I think it's pretty funny. So laughter is the best medicine. It helps us emotionally cope with potentially uncomfortable situations and slowly integrate disturbing new information. So throughout our voyage, we will periodically entertain by the ship of fools in a segment called Stupid Alien Tricks. The first and foremost stupid alien trick is to make the target think that the alien has the capability to cause a heart attack or stroke. This is almost a universal prank. It was used on Saddam Hussein in 1992, according to USA Today. Remember that with EEG heterodyning, the electromagnetic matrix, you only die if you believe that you die. It is the panic and the paranoia that causes the heart to race ever faster and causes the targets to do irrational things, dangerous to themselves. I know magicians are never supposed to reveal their tricks, but how is it done? So, this is what happens. During an attack, the brain waves of the attacker are more strongly amplified into the target. The target's brain waves are only slightly amplified into the attacker. Simply by the psychic assailant pressing on their chest, spinning in their chair, or being out of shape and having their heart speed race up from spinning in their chair, these sensations feel very scary to the target. They'll feel their heart pounding in their chest, they'll feel the pain in their chest, and they're getting dizzy. The assailants can even make their arm numb or cold by putting it in water to further the illusion. All the sensations are amplified into the target's mind. There will be more detail on this remote-controlled heart attack methodology later in the book. This was first described by Russian psychics in the 1970s. The psychic army needs to practice on civilians, because in my case, the attacker thought the heart was in the right side of the chest. This spoiled the illusion for me. So all throughout the book, Robert Duncan alludes to being targeted because he started to expose them. And because he knew their tricks, he was able to get through it. He was very aware of how the mind works. So in case you didn't see our previous video, we talked about in the history, in the science of mind control and the history of mind control, we talked about what happens when you stimulate a part of the body. So you can make somebody feel pain, you can make them feel lust, hunger, pleasure. All these things are in the brain, and it's not deep in the brain, it's on the surface level. The neurons, these things in our brain are on the surface level of the brain, so it doesn't have to go deep into your brain to stimulate it. So what's happening with this EEG cloning is, and it might sound crazy, but they've already proven that they can link brains to computers. So it's not a far stretch. And then they've shown, and I know you guys have seen these experiments where they can link two people together and one person's mind is controlling the other person's arm. I showed this in a video where here's the person standing on stage with a brain link to the other guy, and his brain is amplified down, so he cannot control. This woman was doing this with a man. She's controlling him. She'll lift her arm, he'll lift his arm. This has already been explained. They can connect us via neural patterns. So they do it with a computer. I'll get the video and show it again because it was pretty interesting. So, stupid alien tricks are when they're attacking you, you can hear sound amplified, ringing in the ears, feeling like you're in a panic attack. These are all simulated. And just like you referenced the Matrix, it only really affects you if you give into it and go, oh, I'm having a heart attack, I got to do this, or you start to really think it's happening for real, because it's not happening for real. And that is what is so sick about this whole thing. So I don't know how many people I know that are scared to step out the door, and I can tell you right now, more than likely it is this happening to them. There's no reason, there's no danger, right? All this stuff that goes on, right? They want us to have a lot of fear. So that's one thing. And he was going through this, but because he knew different things about his body and he understood the science of what was happening, he wasn't fooled. It was painful to go through. It was horrific to go through. It was torture, but he didn't give in to it. That's the key. So stupid alien trick number 2. So I admitted I fell for it. Almost every victim tries the defensive shielding approaches at any cost. Part of the strategy of the weapon testers is to deplete the victim's financial resources by forcing the victim to spend all their money on defense research. One of the shielding approaches that everyone thinks works is a Faraday cage. It is supposed to stop low-frequency electromagnetic fields, but as one finds out, cell phones work in them and they can't be that effective. Anyway, once I was completely contained in my Faraday cage, the abusive tester said, "Look, we caged you, our human animal. Now the real experiments can begin." I have to admit that I laughed out loud. They indeed had imprisoned me both physically and mentally. Score 1 for the aliens. So that was interesting to me because I also had the same thought about the Faraday cage. I was like, oh yeah, Faraday cage. Lucky for me, I'll be honest, I don't have any of these things happening to me. But it's very sad when you hear about it happening to people. And usually it's people who know things and know things on like a deep level, like they have real knowledge, right? Those are the people they're targeting. They also target random people as well. People who have higher thought processes, not really higher, but more like an active brain. They can connect and control it better. So I do a meditation practice where I actively practice emptying my thoughts and not letting myself have them. This is something that everybody knows about. When you can actively stop your mind from thinking, and to where you have very little thoughts at all, that's actually a very good place to be in. I can tell you that from experience. And when you let go of your thoughts and your notions about life, and you let those things go, and you just quietly meditate, you find the stress in all of your body leaves you. This is very powerful. That's why meditation is so powerful. Our thoughts create substances in our body that are not good all the time. So when we can stop thinking, which is not easy to do, but when you can stop thinking and you learn how to do it because it takes time, then what you've got is a quiet mind and an unstressed body. When you come out of an hour meditation like that, you feel rejuvenated and you feel like, wow, I feel great. And your health is reflective in it as well. So I'm just saying, this is why I think meditation for this group, for Americans today, is probably the most important thing they can learn. I wanted to learn to meditate. I found my meditation practice. I followed how to do it, and it had profound effects for me. So I know that meditating, emptying the mind, disconnecting from the energy around you, this is very powerful. It is another way to disconnect from these things. It takes time though. It doesn't happen overnight. I have been meditating for 6 years, and sometimes I'll have a very messy meditation. There's super lot of noise going on, but sometimes I can get to that point. We call it ding, which is you're conscious. You don't go into trance. You're conscious, but you're aware, but you're in a state of complete emptiness. It's like being very, very empty. It's not easy to get there, but even if you get there just a little bit, it does still have a profound effect. So I recommend meditation as a way to deal with some of these things. If you feel that you're having any of these things going on, and I've had people call my show to tell me they have, then I think this is another way to deal with it. But so we're going to get more here into what is the psychological factors they're using on us, because while they can pretend to make you have a heart attack or a panic attack, you can still get out of that because your mind can override that stimuli. Because remember, it's a feedback loop. It's stimuli going on. You can shut it down. But if they can get into you psychologically where they really mess with you, so where you believe something, that's when the problems really occur. You're believing what they're telling you, and that can be pretty painful. All right, so now let's talk about Hollywood. You knew it was going to come up because everybody knows Hollywood is a programming machine. So it says right here, Hollywood movies inspired by Psychic Warfare Unit. Men in Black is a secret government agency that watches aliens on the planet. They have a scene where they're monitoring, and it shows a 24-hour surveillance of all aliens that look human. The Psychic War Room monitors countless people's EEG patterns and translates it into audible and visual digital information that can be viewed on a monitor. The agents in the movie read the tabloids to get the real news. This is an interesting parallel to the truth once again. Tabloids will report on alien abductions. You know how to translate and read between the lines. Alien abductions are directed energy nervous system modulation experiments that the mainstream media are forbidden to touch. So, are some alien abductions just this thing happening? Ask yourself that question. This next thing is the word psychic. The word psychic is used as a joke among the cloners. Why? Psychic, the meaning of the mind, is also close to the word psychotic. I saw it translated in Russian literature twice on Paranormal Activity as psychic phenomenon, and that the word was psychotic, used accidentally in the place of psychic. Also, overly stimulated minds exhibit strong electrical signals and are easier to spot as well as piggyback the current electrical brain signals with others. Neurotransmitter modulations. Intellectuals and schizophrenics exhibit increased electrical brain activity. So all you intellectuals, you might want to pipe it down and meditate more because they're gonna piggyback on your thinking. Sorry, I had to say it. Okay. The other condition that determines this slaying of the used psychic is the disability of the subject to be easily hypnotized, or in other words, their brains entrained to external stimuli quickly. Those that have been marked by what the underground has termed as nanotech are more easily illuminated and tracked. I suspect the nanotech replaces the radiation that used to be fed to 500,000 Americans. I would like to exhume the bodies of several victims to try to identify with an electron scanning tunneling microscope what the nanotech really is that supposedly is found in the cerebral fluid throughout the brain, if it exists at all. It would be a somewhat lame weapon if a battlefield had to spray with aerosol nanotechs before EEG heterodyning weapons could be used. Remember that biocommunication signals piggyback normal brain activity and need to modulate existing neurotransmitter releases. So more neural activity, more strongly the biocommunication neural link is. This is why psychotics are often the targets of experiments. So that, to me, just that little bit tells you almost everything you need to know. Number one, aerosol spraying of nanobots. Chemtrails have been putting, and we're going to do something about nanotechnology, but I'm sure you all know this. They're putting nanotechnology in the air. It's in the water. They've already put it in there, and they've proven that people have dormant nanobots bots in them already. And there's a scientist who talks about it. I'll show his video right now just so you can see what I'm talking about. Check this out.
She also analyzed the single color particles that she found in the air, also the color airborne, that then at a certain point is entering the mycelium after it replicated within the human body. Yeah, so this is coming to the concept of self-assembling nanobots. Self-assembly means you spray the fiber, it is replicating, you spray the color, and within the human body, the color and the fiber is mounting to a working unit. This is what you call self-assembling nanobot. If you just take the chemical formulas of these colors, and if you look at this, you can find all the things connected to the Morgellons disease. You find like large area self-assembled plasmonic photonic crystals. If you go into this publication, you find these hexagonal forms. And if you look for the function, actually this is a thing that is collecting a radio signal and turning the radio frequency into DNA readable light impulses within the body. So this is the reading unit. If you look down there, you have photonic crystal fibers. If you look what they do, it's normally they talk about carbon nanotubes filled with these colors, with these quantum dot chemistry. And the function is to collect light processed by the DNA and turn it into a readable signal. If you put the two together, this goes beyond the novel. You get a read-write unit. I can take one person, make him angry, read out his anger, digitize it, put it on an antenna, and address 100 people that are not angry. And if they have this biology within their system, they will feel exactly the same experience of anger, like a tape recorder. Record the human experience, the overall human experience of a human, and you can tell by the colors what this includes.
Okay, so, but what he's saying is regardless of having nanobots in the body, they can still mess with you just through your natural way of thinking. So, but he's specifying here that people who have nanobots in their body are more easily connected to, because it's this type of biometric sensing, biometric communication. So this is getting really deep because this is 2006. We're in 2020 right now, guys, and they want AI to go to transhuman levels right away where everyone has nanobots in the body for everything. And that is connecting us into the matrix in a way that you can barely get yourself out of it once you're in there. Once you have the hardware inside your body, that's where you got a problem. It's crazy. So the last thing I'm going to bring up here is what is the next thing on DARPA, which is DOD or CIA's plate that they want to use with Tammy. So what they want to do, and I'm sure they've already done this, guys, is they want to, it's something about, so this is like a whole new echelon of spying, but in a hidden Department of Defense proposal to study how relationships forms. It sounds innocuous enough, doesn't it? The application that is planned to come out is to track all relationships and connections. While in strategic sales, I used to create influence maps. These maps are an analysis of who in the company influences sales and technology decisions and other people. They have weighted the links between the various players. Tammy will eventually be used to track neural information flows between people. Once this happens, the matrix of deception will be complete and the free world will be lost and replaced by an illusion acceptable to most. At the highest level, this program will be allowed the operator to click on a person. Either his or her neural profile, location, and name will display on a 3D mesh of interrelated people and strength of their relationship. The links are displayed in proportion to the metrics of the number of emails and phone calls. Remember the NSA phone databases, letters, or face-to-face conversations that they've had. Tammy can automatically track a person's proximity to the other and determine whether a conversation is occurring from the back and forth verbal exchange pattern. This way, information leaks that may wake a larger portion of the population up to the fascist takeover can be silenced through a number of methods ranging from disinformation intervention, subliminal neural influence and reprogramming, to plausible denied natural death in the extreme. You understand what that is? China has a system right now that is essentially doing this. They have already done it in China, but the US is definitely right there behind them, being able to piggyback on our personal relationships to find out who has the most influence in your life, and then be able to use those people to get to you. This is really nefarious, and this is the psychological part of the torture, where they will use anything against you, even personal relationships or people who are power players in your life, people who make decisions that affect you. They can get your boss to do something that will affect you negatively. That's how they control people and get us to be in the system. So it's really, I mean, when you really go through it, it is a ton. Now I'm just going to leave you with one last thing. And this is the strategy, right, of the Nazis and how far they went. So information warfare works as an internet strategy. According to war college documents, by having people chase the white rabbit and endless mazes of disinformation, they can't tell what is true anymore. The only people who research these topics are thousands of victims. No one else takes any interest. Why is virtual reality and neural computer interfacing of interest to entrepreneurs and academic readers? So he's basically stating in this one quote that they have purposely created basically disinformation trails for truth seekers who are trying to find out about mind control apparatuses. So basically what they do, it's a certain type of information warfare. Well, they will force you to follow certain patterns of research. So for instance, if you, and I did this and I got the same results. So that's why I'm laughing. So when we were doing our research on energy weapons, and energy, how energy affects the body, we were doing our research. Sure enough, the website they said that would come up, which was James Bearden's website, it did. It popped up when I was doing my research. Now I read all his stuff and it's good. But for some reason I didn't really want to read his stuff, but it did pop up. The second thing they have you follow is scalar waves. If you've watched our videos, you know we did scalar waves. Same thing. What are the next thing they do? They tell you that Russia is so much more advanced than us. I put that in my video that Russia had more, was, competing with us. It's so funny because the exact trail that they want us to follow, I followed. Okay. Now I don't have enough background to know that that's, what's going on there. But the one thing I did learn from it all was that, simply put, I didn't follow the rabbit hole, the white rabbit that much, because they had all these other things we could have talked about, but we stopped. After we got into Royal Rife's machines and how, health and sound, which we already know is true, we kind of stopped talking about the energy weapons thing and we went right into MK Ultra, because truthfully, we kind of knew that it's the mind control apparatuses we're interested in, not so much just anything energy. They're using these tools. But what's really important to know is the psychological part of it. If you are aware of the psychological factors that human beings have and where your weak points are, then you can be more aware. So the points of control was created to help people identify where we're weak, where we're susceptible or we're gullible, and how we're being manipulated by it. That was the idea of the show. So I feel like we did pretty good. We fell through a few of these search, and we fell into some of the loops. I'm reading this going, oh, I did that too. I did one on Tesla's free energy, and these were exactly where they want you to go. But essentially, scalar waves are not special. According to him, scalar waves are just infometers that can be used as a stealth radar technique, like it's used in the U.S. Embassy in Moscow. But researchers don't say that, and it's done on purpose to mislead things to the absurd. So they make scalar waves become this, magical thing. It's actually pretty common science. But because Americans in general are not educated well on true science, and we don't get good education, and we're probably getting a lot of lies, even in higher education, we won't know some of these things unless we are specifically scientists working in those fields. So it makes sense. And no one's going to divulge that information to you. So you have to come up with it yourself. So then the last thing is, this is how Nazi Germany went as far as they did. Everyone stood in disbelief as they heard of the accounts of the evil deeds, and because of the incredible mass scale and excessive brutality, people were unable to accept the accounts of being completely true. The same strategy is being used again, but by the US on its own people. And then the last thing I'm just gonna say is he said here, quote, he wants to clarify. What I'd like to clarify is the vocabulary surrounding this relatively new breed of weapon called the EEG heterodyning. It has so many misnomers and misdirections surrounding it in literature. In an effort to confuse the public, the EEG heterodyning weapon goes under many names: non-lethal weapons, soft kill weapons, silent kill weapons, directed energy, bioelectromagnetic weapons, psychic weapons, PSI weapons, psychotronics, neurological weapons, neuralizers, nervous system disruptors, electronic weapons, EEG cloning, mind melding, ionospheric heaters, over-the-horizon radar, continental ballistic missile defense, and the list goes on. A constantly changing vocabulary around this weapon system has confused the topic to the point of non-discussion. Okay, I'm going to leave you with that. So now you know misinformation, getting people to follow this rabbit hole of, all you get to find is what they want to give you. So how can you really find these things? They're there, they're right in plain sight. And you know where the funny thing is? They put it in plain sight. Hollywood is where they're putting the truth. They are putting the truth right in front of you. And in our next video, we're going to talk about disinformation. We are going to talk about how and why they put the truth in plain sight. So all of us trying to find a hidden truth, we're trying to find this thing that's hidden somewhere in some, back room. And so, no, it's been put in front of us because we'll never believe it because it's right there. So we've talked about that before, but anyway. So thank you so much for watching. If you haven't seen the previous episode, definitely watch the previous episode. Like I said, the next video is about information warfare. What is the techniques they use against us to really throw us off? And remember, we're in a maze with these guys. They are intentionally always trying to keep us off balance. Okay, so we have to find a way to bring ourselves into balance and take control of our own thoughts, our own feelings, our own emotions. I think the key for people living in this day and age is do not let your emotions go crazy. No matter what you feel or how angry you may feel or how betrayed or sad or depressed or want to kill yourself, any of these spectrums of emotions, you need to remember that no matter how strongly they're amplified inside of you, they are not real, right? Something bad may have happened to you, but in a rational mind, you can go through it. The key is to know yourself. Really understand your morals, your principles, and don't let outside external things, you might have random thoughts. Don't pay attention to them. Find a way to start pushing those things away. Focus on the things that you know are important. And I would say learn to meditate, because it really is a great way to quiet the mind down. Since I've been meditating for so many years now, when I have a lot of chaotic thoughts in my mind, I will just quiet myself now. I'll just be like, no. And because I've been doing it for a while, my mind does, do it. But it's not easy. The first couple of years, it was not easy at all. So it just takes time. It's just work. But I hope that helps a little bit. Like I said, I was excited to read the book. I'll link it again. Please watch our other shows as well. And please share with others. This is definitely information that would help a lot of people in today's society. So thanks so much for watching. This is the Bird's Eye View. Hope to see you guys next time. Have a great day.